session called to order at 5:30 on February 17th. And we have a quorum. We'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Lorraine.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item of business, approval of the minutes. Anyone want to make a motion to approve?
I can make a motion to approve.
Okay, and
I'll second.
All right. Motion approved and seconded. And any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. First item on our agenda after that, this will have a public hearing. This is the proposed Utah County Land Use Ordinance text amendment, section 8.16. We'll have here a staff report.
Yep. This is a staff-initiated text amendment, and Kevin Stinson from our staff will give you an intro.
First off, we hand out these to each of you.
Thank you.
So what you're seeing here is we have a slight modification from what was in the original packet. And the reason for that is after looking through it, we found some changes that we thought better fit the county, and staff made those changes and thought they'd be better in line with what would serve the people of the county. So what this is, it's mostly a housekeeping item that we're going to be doing here on our temporary use structure. So these are our construction yards for different projects throughout the county, and then also things like our corn mazes and whatnot. So as you can see, as we go through that very first one there, the small temporary event, basically we've required that a frontage requirement is going to be needed for any of these events. And we have determined that frontage requirement is 250 feet. And we also put in a stipulation in there that they could have, for example, if somebody has a parcel, they own two parcels, one parcel's next to the road, the next parcel's where they're doing their corn maze or whatever the event may be, they could still go across both of their parcels if they're in the same ownership. Let's see. We did mention as well that they do need to be gaining access across that parcel. That's the big change that you'll notice from what was originally submitted. And then as you can see, that same change has been added to many of the different items in temporary use. We had Christmas tree sales, the same condition. Let's see, to the seasonal holiday events. And let's see, I think the last one is the agritourism, seasonal sales and service, and then the agritourism as well. And we are here for any questions if you have them.
You said it specifies a frontage of 250 feet?
Right.
Where does it say the 250 feet on the?
Was that? Oh, I'm sorry. Was that a change that we had on?
Yeah, that was actually a change.
Oh, that was a change. I apologize.
Yep. Yeah, there will be no specific requirement, just that they have frontage.
Oh,
Some
okay.
of these uses, are odd-shaped lots, and so it's not the same as a dwelling that requires a 250 feet of front lot width along the frontage. They just have to have frontage. We have other provisions in our ordinance that will, obviously they have to have an access driveway, and there's a certain distance for that, so they obviously have to meet that. But
Okay.
there's no specific set width.
So it's okay that we don't specify a particular length, just that we say there needs to be a frontage and.
Yep.
Okay.
So what's the criteria going to be for frontage then? Just case by case? I'm not
So
familiar with
basically,
the
they just need to have a lot on a road that abuts a road. The reason for that is if they're landlocked, we want traffic going
Sure.
across from a road to the event instead of across to.
and access to the road.
Right. So
Right.
to
Because-
follow up with that, there is a requirement for both the width of a road, access to a road in the land use ordinance, which is 10 feet, but the fire marshal has more stringent requirements. They would have to meet the fire marshal's requirement for width. So it's mainly just for the access. This is really to ensure that whatever temporary use that they're wanting to do has access to a road, and it's not going through somebody else's property that may or may not want to have that go through their property. So it's just to ensure that the whatever temporary use that they're performing, that where we changed it has the ability to get to the road where it can't be cut off at some point.
So existing curb cut or approval from the state highway or county highway, whatever.
Correct. They would have to get all a public works access permit if
Okay.
they were on a county road, or UDOT permit if they were on any, or city access permit curb cut.
And
Yeah,
just
exactly.
to follow up, just curious, what prompted the change? What was the pressure that you guys were feeling?
We had an application that came through, or somebody asking, it wasn't an application, somebody was asking about property that was landlocked, and they wanted access across somebody else's property. And that current landowner was okay with it, but we started, thinking this through. What happens if he sells and the next guy's not, and this guy's put $1 million investment into his temporary use? Now all of a sudden he can't do it. So we wanted to make sure that we could allow them that access.
So he didn't have to grant them a 250-foot easement,
Just the
Correct.
access.
Yeah.
16-foot or 32. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Any further questions from the commission? Okay. Anything else from the staff? All right. This is subject to a public hearing. Entertain a motion to open the hearing, or do we need a motion to open the hearing? Do we just
Yeah, that's probably
Okay.
a good idea.
So moved.
moved, seconded? All in favor of opening a public hearing?
Aye.
Seeing no opposed. We're now in public hearing. If anyone in the public would like to speak to this change in the county land use ordinance, please come up to the microphone. And seeing no public comment, anyone want a motion to close public hearing?
I'll move to close it.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, public hearing closed. Are we voting on this to approve it or to send it to the commission?
This would be a recommendation to the planning, or to the county commission.
Okay. Is there any discussion before we vote on it?
If there's no further discussion, I'll move that the Utah County Planning Commission recommend approval of the proposed text amendments to section 8.16 of the Utah County Land Use Ordinance with modifications as specified in the staff report, along with any applicable renumbering and reformatting in each section based on the findings listed in the staff report.
Okay, it's been moved
Second.
and seconded. All in
Mr.
favor?
Mr. Chair, I'm
Oh, yes.
sorry. Technically, the motion referenced, as indicated in the staff report, there was a supplemental draft that was provided. Just want to make sure that that's the version that we're acting on.
Yes, the version handed out here that
Okay.
does not specify a particular length.
Good catch. I'll amend that motion to include the handout that was given to us during the meeting.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Okay, all in favor of approving as noted? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And that's unanimous. Okay, moving on. The next item on the agenda is conditional use application for Green Hollow Ranch LLC. Hear a staff report on this one.
Yeah, Greg will take care of that today. Good evening. So this application is coming before you for a reception center. This is in the Thistle area, and this is just a wide view of where that would be in the county. This is kind of the zoning surrounding it. I'll get a little bit more zoomed in. So there is a little bit of RA5 zoning surrounding it. The three parcels that are included are kind of highlighted here. They respectively, the first parcel
the smallest parcel is 9.49 acres. That is within a subdivision. That's where most of the uses are. The applicant has indicated that most of the uses will be handled or held. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. There you go. The other parcels are, let me make sure I get this right. Sorry, 150 acres and 50 acres, respectively, 136 acres and 50 acres, respectively. Both of those parcels contain, as I showed you before, split zoning. This is going to become a little bit important a little bit later in my report. A reception center in the RA5 zone has a requirement for 10 acres and 500 feet of frontage. In the CE1 zone, it has a minimum acreage of 50 acres and 330 feet of frontage. The parcel that they're anticipating having most of their activities is not large enough, nor does it have enough frontage for that. And as indicated in the staff report, that is something that will need to be addressed by the applicant to be able to meet those minimum requirements. There is a relatively simple way to make those changes without too much difficulty that we can work with the applicant on kind of addressing if they want to kind of deal with it the way that I think would be easiest for them to handle. But either way, the ordinance would require that the parcel that they're having the reception center be at least, for the RA5, be at least 10 acres and 500 feet of frontage. So that would have to be addressed prior to issuing any permits for the reception center. To go through a little bit more of that, those requirements. So the area around it is generally the, oh, that's a little too far out, sorry. Similar uses, agricultural, recreational, and a few different residences in the area. The nearest one is about a half a mile away from this parcel or this lot. It appears that the property does have access to the Spanish Fork City water system, which will be beneficial for them if they were able to get a connection to that and permission to be able to have enough water for that use. There is a condition that has been added to the staff report to address that. Commissioner Love brought up a good point in an email that there was a note on their deed that kind of addresses an easement that hopefully that was a good concern. However, I think that the condition in the staff report does address that specific concern and will kind of cover any issue that they may have if they cannot get access to or permission from Spanish Fork to use that water. Then they still have the ability to do their own water system and go through the state to do a public water system. There is access onto Highway 68. There is an existing bridge that the fire marshal was a little bit concerned that it may not meet fire access requirements that they would have to address. There is a condition added for that as well. UDOT, this is a UDOT road, so they would also need to get permission from UDOT for that access. There is an existing access for this property was used previously for a residential treatment center, if I'm not mistaken, or a facility for people with disabilities. So that there is an access from UDOT for this property. However, with the change of use, we just want to be confident that the UDOT is aware of that and can review any changes that may need to be made or addressed through their process. Their condition does require them to provide evidence that they have consulted and gotten an access approval from UDOT. There is also just similar requirements that I've added as conditions, just to kind of give you a little bit of an idea that Public Works has their own requirements for SWIP. If there is any construction that needs to be done that needs to be covered by a SWIP, or any other public works requirements. The fire marshal also wanted to make sure that any fire suppression or a system and flow standards were met. So there's a condition specific to that. This structure will be required to have a new building permit to address any building code requirements for the assembly. So they will need to work with the building department to get a permit and meet whatever building code requirements are in there for that type of use. They didn't indicate what parking would be required, or what parking was how many parking stalls were necessary. They did indicate where those parking areas would be. There is a parking requirement specified in the ordinance that they would need to meet. That requirement is 1 stall per 30 feet of guest assembly area per our code. They would just need to show that they meet that requirement and have surfacing appropriate for that parking area. Currently, the 2 structures existing are under an ag. They're permitted through an ag permit. They would not be allowed to be used for any kind of assemblies or any. The applicant did not indicate that they would use those for any kind of activities, but just to make you aware that those are agricultural permits that would not be allowed to be used unless a building permit was issued for that specific use to be used for that purpose. I think that covers most of the things that were in the staff report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those, and the applicants are here to address any questions if you have questions for the applicants.
Okay. Any questions from the commission for staff?
I just have a question, and this doesn't really even, this is a little bit of a side note. Does UDOT care what the use is, or do they just care about the volume, or just care about is there an access or not? I'm just kind of curious.
Sometimes they do. It depends
Okay.
on the use. Does sometimes matter because of volume, and this is kind of one of those situations where they might have an issue with it because the volume at one time can be excessive. So generally, they don't have improvement requirements for a lot of these uses, but they may have a specific requirement. The county, if it was a county road, would probably have requirements for turn lanes and deceleration, acceleration lanes to accommodate the traffic that happens all at one time generally. So, but you're right. Sometimes UDOT doesn't have an issue with it, but just wanted to make sure that UDOT was
No,
aware.
I think that's smart. One other question. I didn't drive up there. I should have, but is this the property that used to be Willie Nelson's house? It's not that one, is it? It's a different one. Okay. I just, in my mind, I had been up there for a while, so I knew he had a home up there, a white house, but this is different. Okay. Is this further?
I think the property is further north. I think Willie's place is a little further south.
Okay. I think I know where it is then.
So.
Yeah.
I do know that UDOT is going to be doing some construction on the Highway 6 89 US 89 junction there to make it safer.
Correct. Yeah, that would be
So,
nice for that act.
for
that
receptions, definitely. Okay. Any other questions for staff? If not, we'll invite the applicant to come up.
Hi.
Anything you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, we
State your name.
my name's
Sorry.
Robert Munson. I'm with Green Hollow Catering. We're the ones that purchased this property and are looking into turning it into an event center. We purchased this property a few months ago. Like was noted earlier, it was once a residential treatment center, and so a lot of the existing fire codes and stuff like that should help us out in a lot of those cases. We are reaching out to UDOT to talk about the access to the property. In speaking to the previous owner, we did talk about the 10 acres needed for it to be zoned for an event center. We were under the impression that the previous owner was going to do that before the completion of the cell. I don't know if that has been started or if they're working on that or if that just kind of got lost in there, the paperwork or whatnot. But that is something that we've talked about a little bit, and that we definitely can address with the commission and making it the 10 acres that it needs to be for, since we do own all the surrounding property around it also. It shouldn't be too hard for us to do that.
Okay. Any questions from the commission to the applicant?
That's another question. Can a site plan cross parcel lines? Does that matter?
Site plan can include multiple lots or
Well,
parcels,
okay,
but
that's-
structures will have to respect the property lines for setbacks.
Okay.
So do you get water from Spanish Fork?
Yeah,
City?
we're actually are hooked up to Spanish Fork City water supply.
That's
Yeah,
good.
and so we can provide a letter from them. That is one thing we did check. Talking with Greg before we even submitted the application, he made note that was something that's important for us to check out on. And so we did contact Spanish Fork City, and we are connected. That the pipeline for Spanish Fork actually goes through our property, and so that's why we are hooked up to it, because they granted us access to that to put it on the property the previous owner told us.
You must have a spring up there. Who knew they'd have a water line
Yeah,
that
right.
far up the canyon, right?
Okay.
This is just like a side question. As a business owner, have you guys done research in terms of, because that's a pretty, going up Highway 6 and going over
Mhm.
Billy's Mountain. I mean, I live up Highway 6, and so
Yeah.
are you concerned about just people's willingness to go up Highway 6, and obviously with the 89 Highway 6 fix with UDOT,
hmm
that makes a huge difference.
Yes, for sure.
But have you
Yeah.
done research where people are going to be willing to go all that way? Because I know people think, oh, it's such a long
Yeah.
drive.
So, I mean, the research we've done, we've been a catering company for 20 years and been in venue centers over these past 20 years. This is within our business. Our catering kitchen is located in Orem. It's 37 minutes from our catering kitchen in Orem. And so, I mean, we've driven hours to event centers, honestly. So for someone coming from Spanish Fork, Mapleton, that area where it's under a half an hour, they're more than willing to drive that distance
And
for sure.
it's not so much the distance. It's
Oh,
just,
you mean the
It's about
trip?
food.
But that's,
no,
I mean,
it's just Highway 6 it can be pretty
yes,
treacherous, especially in the wintertime, because I
yeah,
live up there, and like it just, there's gonna be some times where it's like
definitely.
maybe the winter you're not gonna be having. I mean,
As many,
just
yeah.
it could be really touch and go.
Yeah, we haven't done any research on that, but just our experience being in the catering company and doing so many events per year has led us to believe that, destination weddings and these kind of outdoor weddings are so popular right now,
Awesome.
that, will be profitable and something that would benefit the community and us as a business.
Are there any of the conditions here that you have concerns about?
No, honestly, looking over everything, it seems something that's easily feasible for us to do, and within we'd be able to do that. Yeah.
So was this area what would have been the old Thistle town, kind of
I
nearby it, or
I think it's
Down below. I mean,
yeah?
thistles up here.
Okay, so it's more
yeah,
down.
just a
Okay,
little bit
okay.
south.
Okay.
I guess I have a question for staff. Will you guys be reviewing their permit from UDOT before it goes to county commissioners, or what's the process on that?
So we don't necessarily review it. They'll just give us a letter stating that they've been approved for the use and the location.
And just one note, this conditional uses do not go to the
Oh,
county
okay.
commission. You are the land use authority for this a conditional use. So this is it. Get it right.
No pressure.
Pressure's all on you.
I'm just checking out the street view really quick on the Highway 89 there. Okay. If there's no further discussion, well, thank you for
Thank you. Appreciate it.
being here. And this is not subject to public comment. So is there anyone from the public who wants to speak to it? Okay. Just thought I'd check.
Just have one question for staff.
Yeah.
Do you guys, are you concerned that would set a precedent, and then now along Highway 89, you're going to have other people wanting to do things and
For a reception center or for? We do occasionally get requests. Generally, as far as requests for reception centers with the connection to a water system, I think that this is actually one of the few areas that I've seen in the county that is well situated to be able to do that. There may be other people that want to do reception centers. Generally, the requests that we've gotten have been so separated by distance, and this is the first one we've had on this highway. So we haven't had any other requests. So I don't know that this is necessarily going to set a precedence, anything other than what we currently already allow in the ordinance. So.
The other thing I'd mention is this has gone through a legislative action to deem it an appropriate conditional use in the subject zones. And so if a use is allowed in the zone, then as long as they can meet the requirements of the ordinance, then they're entitled to approval. So
Didn't we review one that was up the
Fork.
fork before
Yeah.
Billy's Mountain
Yeah.
a year or so ago, a couple years ago?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think they've gotten to the point where they've pursued a building permit, but I do believe they have an approved conditional use.
Yeah, they have an approved for conditional use. They are close to submitting. They're trying to work through the health department requirements, which again, it mainly dealing with the public water system because of the number of people accessing that. So that process has been taking them about this long to be able to get through. So they still haven't gotten through that point.
And I want to follow up on my last comment. The purpose of a conditional use is to, one, make sure that they meet the requirements of the ordinance, but also to ascertain any reasonably anticipated detrimental effects and then attach conditions that reasonably mitigate those. So that's kind of really the purpose of the review for the conditional use.
And I think it's been good to spill all these out, and everybody seems in alignment there. Any further discussion from the commission? Okay. Anyone want to entertain a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion. I move that the Utah County Planning Commission approve the conditional use permit CU 2026-01, which is a request for a reception center located at 14048 South Highway 89 in the Thistle area of unincorporated Utah County, subject to the staff findings included in the staff report and the 12 minimum conditions that are listed in the staff findings.
Okay, we have a motion
I can second that.
and a second. All in favor of approving with those conditions as specified, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimous. Okay, moving on to our next item. We have an agriculture protection area. Creation of the Beck Farm, Thompson Family Farm, Reschlar, and D.W. Miller, and livestock.
So Kevin will handle this. This first item is just something that's required by state code that we make the Planning Commission aware of recently approved ag protection areas. I believe that's what this first one is.
That's correct. Yeah, by state code, we just need to come back to you and let you know what happened. I think it was last month on those four ag protection areas. They were all approved through the commission, and they had the modifications for the additional properties. The streets were removed at a lesser right of way than what was originally requested by Public Works. So
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I guess there's no further discussion on that topic. Item number 2, South Fork land, is that also covered in this? Or is this a separate?
This is a new agriculture protection area.
Oh, okay.
A new application. No, I haven't done any others. Okay, so this one here is this is by the Payson Hospital. So just in between Payson and Salem there, you can kind of see on the top left is that X building. That's the Payson. That's the care center, if I recall. The hospital is further to the left, and then in blue are the two parcels that we're looking at. Now, the applicant's request. I don't see him here today. He owns both those properties, and as you can see, there's already he requested the roads, not the outlining perimeter. sorry, he requested the parcels, not the outlining perimeter. So we do have the road excluded from that to an extent as well. So this one, as you can see, it is in the location we talked about. It's in the RA5 zone. And with Payson to the north, and it is in Payson's annexation policy plan. They were made aware of this and have no objections to it. And then as well, we've got, you can see the surrounding areas, and you can see that picture at the beginning. It is farmland and agricultural use. To the north is a fairly large apartment complex, and then a little bit more to the west, there's some more residential areas, and then of course all the farmland around it. A little bit closer view, you can see that it is currently being used for grazing, and so that's what they're requesting, is that ag protection. And there it is. So it does meet the minimums. Apologies, let me grab my report here. So it does meet the requirements from state code. It has 20, I had it right here, sorry. 21.38 acres, and there were no objections or modifications or anything during the protest period. So I'm here for any other questions.
Can you go back? Sorry. Can you go back one slide?
Yep.
So the carve out here on the south parcel, what's I'm just curious about
So
that.
the blue line is the two parcels that he requested, and then the yellow down the middle, the Public Works actually did have a request for a 56-foot right-of-way removal as well. Are you talking about the parcel underneath, parcel 47?
No, it's next to the yellow, between the yellow and the
Little
blue.
cutout there.
That just
yeah.
happened to be how the parcels were dedicated at one point, and
Huh.
deeded over. And so
who owns the other
some reason-
parcel? That strip?
It's the county, it's the road. So you're talking about the piece between them?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
it's kinda
yellow
like
line
no
is the
man's
road,
land.
and then for whatever reason, they already included the anticipated road width.
Okay,
at
that's
one
what it
point.
looks like, is the
Yeah.
road width. I'm just curious that it doesn't go all the way further back.
Yeah.
The county needs to do something with that property. Come on.
I'm sure as development comes, they'll do as needed.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, and I don't see anyone here to make a public comment about it. So
This by statute requires a public hearing at the county commission level, so there'll be other notices indicating that they'll give them an
okay.
opportunity if they so choose.
So we're gonna be motioning to or voting on whether to
This will be-
recommend.
Yes,
Recommendation.
recommendation to the county commission.
Okay, anyone want to make a motion?
Your turn.
Okay, make a motion that staff recommendation to approve. The Utah County Planning Commission recommends approval to the Utah County Commission of the proposed creation of the South Fork Land 2026 Agricultural Protection Area for agricultural protection, which includes approximately 21.38 acres, citing 8, which is less the county road 21. Do I need to say this? 2100 west with 56. Okay. But right of way per the Utah County Public Works and based on the staff report and minimum findings listed above.
I'll second that.
Okay, motioned and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving right along. We have some other business, training and discussion on the Utah Open and Public Meetings Act.
Before we get to that, just one item. Last month was mentioned that the Republican Party's caucuses are going to be held next in March during our scheduled Planning Commission meeting.
Yes.
Fortunately, we have been able to cancel that meeting. We did have one applicant, but they were okay waiting till the April meeting.
Okay.
So just to let you know that we will not be having to reschedule a special meeting, and you can clear your calendar for
Excellent.
that night. So
Cool.
And since you've made the effort to be here tonight, we're going to keep you a little longer and do a little training.
Okay.
So that's our next item.
All right.
Dale
That's
Ayer
great.
from our attorney's office will walk you through this excitement.
And only because it's required by law. Okay.
And you enjoy doing it.
I'm not so sure about that. This is something we have to do. It usually leads to some good discussion, but I'll just kind of give you the overview of what we're doing here. If you've had anything to do with government, you've heard about the Open and Public Meetings Act, OPMA. You know, we reference it often, so this is what we're talking about. The purpose. You know, it's one of the most important laws on the books. It keeps all of government work in the open in front of people. It's about government transparency. That second point there is probably one you want to commit to memory. A meeting is open to the public unless closed pursuant to law. So the presumption is they're all open. Okay, if it's a public body, it's sunshine law. You'll see that that's actual statutory language there, that we take our actions openly and conduct their deliberations openly. You know, in this day and age, I'm preaching to the choir. You know, everyone understands this, and this is what we need to do. And I also included the reference on why we have to do this every year. I decided, hey, I hated doing this at the end of the year when you guys are tired and we want to just move on. Let's do it the first of the year and get it over with, so you won't have to bother you with it. Oh. Sorry. I thought it was moving mine too. Hey, how do you go back, guys? Oh, okay, got it. Yep. Okay. So first you have to decide if we're a public hey, you probably need that. We'll stealing that. This is an OPA violation right now. Okay. He might have it open there. You'll see that happen in public meetings. Someone will just close the door because it gets too noisy. Like when they were doing construction here.
He's unlocking it, or he's locking it.
He's locking us in till we get done with the training.
And people would just grab the door and close it because it was too loud. Well, we have to stop the meeting, go open back the door, and anyway, it's just something we need to make sure happens. So first, you decide if you're a public body. Now, I can tell you right now, you guys are, but there's a statutory definition for it. You know, those are the elements there. It has to meet one of those criteria: administrative, advisory, executive, legislative. Has to be created by a law or an ordinance, which was a statute or ordinance consisting of two or more people. Expend, disperse, or supported by tax dollars. Usually, these are easily met. Okay, so most of our bodies here at the county are public bodies, and vested with authority to make decisions. The next definition, though, is important, and you'll hear us talk about that a lot. Quorum. You can't start one of these meetings without a quorum. We can't act. We can't do anything. And so that's why if you didn't know, that's the reason Marie sends out those emails. And it's not that we're trying to bother you or harass you. It's we need four or we can't go forward. So that's kind of why we're waiting for those responses. And, you know, not trying to delve into your private life and what's going on, but you just need to know if four people can show up.
And just to add, I mean, we appreciate your responses on those. Sometimes we'll have applicants that are coming from out of state, and if for whatever reason something comes up and we can't have a meeting, we want to have advance notice so we can let them know and kind of make arrangements. So we appreciate your guys' responses on those.
Well, Maria's she's also good at, like, if we don't respond, like, we need one more person.
Yeah.
Sometimes I thought I responded and I didn't, so.
Yeah, don't be offended, but we'll track you down.
Yeah. And this is why.
Yeah.
You can blame this law. So we also have to decide what a meeting is. These become important when we have litigation over OPMA on whether we violated OPMA, which is also a criminal act. So I'll get to that at the end here. But so it becomes very important that we meet all the statutory definitions of a meeting. Gathering, public body, quorum present, quorum. So if there were only 3 of you here, we could violate every OPMA requirement. As soon as there's a 4th one, we need to adhere to the law. Convene. This was a little bit different. So in order for it to be an official public meeting, it has to be convened, and this is a new requirement for us. You know, we're still all getting used to this. I think it's workable. I don't think it's a problem. Um, I think it's 2 years ago now. The state legislature decided they wanted to mess with OPMA. I don't know if they thought something was being done wrong, or I actually felt like it was maybe coming from out of state, but they made some changes, and for better or worse, with all legislation, you know, they make some things better and they make some things worse. This was one of the changes convened. So in order for it to be a public meeting, it has to be convened by a person with authority to convene the meeting, which there is, usually the chair, for the express purpose to receive public comment, deliberate about, or take action. Okay, so all of those things have to be met, or it's not a public meeting.
I wonder if that had anything to do with our 3-person commission, because anytime you get 2 of them together, you have a quorum, and
Yeah,
how much can they deliberate about things without it being a meeting? I know that's something that's been discussed for a few years now, but
decades,
yeah.
and it's still a problem. Yet we
Yeah.
still hold on to the 3
For
commissioner
sure.
commission. I don't know why, but yes, it comes up all the time, and you'll see right down here the statutory definition. That is for our 3 commissioner commissions, to allow them to talk about things that are managerial or operational. Okay, because some commissions wear both hats, like ours. They have to be able to do that. So it's still a problem. I Okay, I'll show you what they think fixed it. I don't know if it fixed it or not. Okay, here are just some general things to remember about OPMA. All meetings are open unless closed by law. We record all meetings. The next slide is the one I'll get into about their supposed fix to all of the problems. OPMA also has public notice requirements, which I think are very important. And then, of course, again, the reason we're doing this is it's required by law. Okay, so this is the new thing that they added. Of course, they were concerned about, and like you said, it's the 3 commissions are the problem. 3 commissioner commissions. How do you avoid just talking in the office every day or in the hallway? And so what they came up with is what's called a predetermined action. We're going to let these commissioners talk as long as they're not acting together. So some kind of, almost a conspiracy type intent outside of a meeting in a concerted and deliberate way. These are new words. I don't have definitions for you from the courts. In a concerted and deliberate way to predetermine an action to be taken at the meeting. So basically getting together and deciding how they're going to vote, or how they're going to get the other person to vote, or really anything they're doing to influence a public meeting. It can occur by any means of communication, so text messages, very important. And the last point is kind of our warning. We don't have any law on this, no cases to try it, but simply asking a member's inclination on a vote could constitute a violation. Now, the great thing about you guys is if two of you, you would not be a quorum, so you wouldn't be violating this. But 2 commissioners talking about something on the agenda could easily violate it. So they still have to be careful. They're saying you guys can talk, but they still have to be very careful. So I don't know if it fixed it, and until we see it challenged, we don't know if it works. We would have to prove all of those things. They're acting together, they're outside of a meeting, it's concerted and deliberate, and they're predetermining an action. So we will wait and see.
Is that the county burden or the public's burden, or is that the objecting person?
It's the objecting. However, anyone can enforce an OPMA violation. The Attorney General is required to, the county attorney is required to, so it could come up in a lot of ways. It could come up in a prosecution. It's a Class B misdemeanor to violate OPMA. So all of those factors could be coming into a criminal trial. So I'm sure we're going to see this tested, but we just haven't yet. It's so new. But I think the message is clear. What they're saying. Hey, don't be getting together and trying to do things that should be done in a public meeting. I think if once we all get that, and you know, there's a conversation and it starts going the wrong way, you just say, hey, I don't think we should be talking about this, and that ends it. The notice requirements, usually you guys don't have to do anything about this. Marie takes care of everything. It's well done. It's all documented. We've never had a problem with this. But it's good to know that your meetings are required to give the public 24 hours notice. That's even if it's an emergency meeting. You know, we have some leeway on an emergency meeting, but they're still saying get notice to the public as fast as you can and as much as you can. It tells us what we have to tell them, and then it tells us where the notice requirement can be satisfied. And you'll see, I think it's fairly good. The Utah Public Notice website, anyone familiar with that can look up a notice on any public body. On our county website, we post it. So, you know, that's come up a couple times in some of the conditional use approvals that we've done. People worry about notice. I don't know that you have to worry too much about notice. The Utah state laws and the counties are even stricter in giving notice. People get notice. What they don't get is someone slapping them in the head and saying, hey, read that, open your mail, take notice, ask questions, make phone calls. That's what people really need to do. I think that's where we lack in our public interactions and participation.
Dale, one thing I'd add on this is, you know, the 24 hours is for any public meeting, but if you have a public hearing item, state statute requires 10 days. And so we just send all of our notices out 10 days to kind of get in that cadence. And you want to give people as much prior notice as possible. So,
yeah. Well, and that's a good point, Bryce. This is just to the public. Now, if someone's affected by what we're doing, we call them affected landowners or an interested party, interested entity. They actually get their own notice, okay, mailed to them. And so, like I said, there's a lot of notice going on behind the scene. Okay, and this is just public. This is just Joe public. We want them to know where we're meeting and what we're doing.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So I just think it's a little confusing for me, maybe not for other lawyers, but like hearing versus meeting. Like, can you differentiate between that? I mean,
yeah,
that's because
sure.
from, you know, I don't have that legalese. So to me,
Yeah.
they're the same thing almost.
Oh no.
Right.
No.
But maybe not to you, but I
Yeah.
think most people would be like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So all meetings by a public body are meetings. And whenever they're together, it's a public meeting. That's a very general term. Public hearing is a very specific term that describes where we have to have a public meeting noticed up and available for anyone to speak to some issue. Okay, a public hearing is all about we need to get public input on this issue, and state law decides if it's a hearing. Okay, we don't just decide that. You don't just decide that. In fact, never been asked by a commissioner, but I don't think you as a commission can just say, hey, we want to have a public hearing. You could have a public comment period. Public hearing is something defined by state law, and it's required. So when Bryce talks about a public hearing, he means there's a statute or an ordinance that requires us to have that. Okay? For some reason, whatever we're doing, whoever wrote the law decided we need to make sure that we get public comment on this. So they require a public hearing before we can proceed. Okay, like the APAs, the ag production areas. State law requires a public hearing. For whatever reason, they've decided we need to hear from the public before we create these. Okay,
Generally,
So a public meeting is every time we meet. Public hearing could be inside a public meeting. In other words,
Yes.
we might have one public meeting with 3 public hearings.
Yes, you might.
Okay.
Yeah. Very
so
well.
Ooh, that's a really good way to describe that.
Yeah.
generally, just the ones that you're going to be aware of that you're going to be dealing with are going to be text amendments, zone map amendments, general plan amendments are the ones you generally will be dealing with. So anytime like this time when we amended the text of the ordinance, there was a requirement for a public hearing. So that one, general plan amendments where we amend the general plan, and then zone map amendments when we make a zone change for somebody. So those are the ones that you mainly deal with in your body.
And you may have noticed his examples, legislative decisions. Legislative decisions where we're making law or you're recommending law be made. And so we need to hear from the public about that.
And I'm sorry to jump in. I think it's noteworthy that state law mandates that public hearing be held at the planning commission level, not the legislative body, but at the planning commission level, which really emphasizes the importance of your role in those legislative matters.
And then it's probably also important to note, since from what you've been through in the last year or so, there is no public hearing for a conditional use approval. Okay, that's an administrative decision. Important distinction there. And there's other type of administrative decisions that we do in government. There's no public hearing because we're limited in what we can consider. Okay, so a couple things coming up there. Those are good questions though. Public note. So public notice. This is just making sure that what we send out gives them enough information to know what's going on. So if they're interested in it, they can be here. As you've seen, the public doesn't show up a lot. OTMA requires written minutes for all meetings. These become the official record of your meetings. So when you approve those minutes, it's actually a very important thing you're doing. I don't know if you realize that, but once you approve that, that's the official record. So if we end up in court or someone is trying to get to establish what has happened at the county planning commission level, that's what they'll do. They'll go request all of those, and that will be the official record for this body.
I always try to go and make sure that everything that has my name by it.
Absolutely. Make sure you're right there. You know whatever you did.
I may not be able to go through the entire thing, but I make sure if it's got my
Yes,
name
at
next
the
to
very
it.
least. And then if you notice other things, someone picked up something.
It was Sullivan.
Yeah, so yeah.
And please, we're not offended if you feel like
No.
it was misrepresented or something missing.
No.
And if we ever need to, we can pull the recording and verify that. So.
And Marie does as good a minutes as anyone at the county, but still there can be mistakes. Let's clear them up, make it good. So the statute tells us what needs to be in the minutes. You'll see that there. I don't know if you have any questions there. It tells us when we have to have those available. All of that's good stuff. You know, the public needs to see this stuff right away and have a record for them to use for whatever purpose they have. Recordings. OTMA requires us to record all the meetings. Also a good requirement. That needs to be out there. You know, I'm sure someday we'll be involved in litigation and the recordings will be important, and we'll have those to refer to.
Just so you know, you guys, these are on YouTube. So if you want to, if your family misses you tonight, they can kind of follow your trail. And if you want to go back and watch it and look at your good-looking face, you can. That's not our official recording. Marie's that, but we do. One of our commissioners asked that we put these on YouTube, and so these are on YouTube, and they're streamed live as they happen. So.
And I was going to mention that I do know county commissioners watch these because I'll get calls after, so they do watch.
I love having, for example, the school board meetings that they are posting online because you know, we're all busy. We all got stuff to do, but I can go back and rewatch it, say 1.5 speed, a meeting that I really wanted to hear about, and it's great that we have that opportunity where years past, you know, that may not have been easy to do. So.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's really
Especially in
nice.
the contentious meetings, I had to go back and watch some. Someone accused me of saying something. I'm like, I hope I didn't. Went back and watched it. I did not say what they said.
Why are the commissioners calling you for this meeting? Why would they call you?
Oh, they want to know what the kind of background on
Okay.
things, especially things that are going to show up on their agenda. Yeah.
May help
Um,
them to not ask a same question over and over if it's already been addressed.
Yeah. You'll also notice there that we require anyone who speaks, if they bring something for the commission, they have to have copies for us. That's required by law. It has to be in our record. Uh, you know, if they want you to consider something, they need to bring a copy of it, and all of that so that there's a complete record for you know, for whatever use later down the road. It's not just what's happening here. This is an important event that may be used for some other reason later, and we need to have an official and complete copy of it. Okay, you can close meetings. I don't. We've never closed a meeting, but we came close. We came close in a meeting once where there was the threat of litigation for an administrative decision, and there was a legal issue that I needed to provide some legal opinion or guidance, and we considered closing for that, and we would be allowed to. So that you'll see this list of reasons you can close, but you have to meet the definition for that closed meeting, and you also have to vote on it. So the body would have to say, yes, we're going to close this. People get in trouble for closing meetings, so that's why we go over it. And I don't anticipate us doing it here, and I think that's a good thing, because you know, you can't get in trouble if you're not trying to close a meeting.
Doesn't
But it
have
does
to be
happen.
posted on the agenda, the potential of a closed session.
Yes, yes. You'll notice that the commission has that on every agenda.
Yeah.
And they'll announce at the beginning of their meeting which of the closed sessions they're going to be holding. Yeah. Let's see. So the first point is just that's law. All meetings are open unless they're closed according to law. When it is closed, this is important, but I'll just mention it quickly. During the closure, you can only discuss, you can't act on a topic. Okay, and it's only one of the closed topics. So you can't close for one reason, then start talking about something else. Okay. Like I said, I hope we don't have to do that. Those are the list of the reasons. You'll see the first one, the second one, the third one are usually always on the county commission because they just have these things coming up all the time. Any questions there? These are all statutory. There's a definition for them. If we close a meeting, we make sure we've met that and we have a vote and it's all on the record. Let me see. I think there's. Did it again. Let's see. There are things that are outlawed, prohibited by statute that you can do in a closed meeting. Kind of an interesting list. Clearly, the first one, you can't approve an ordinance, resolution, rule, or contract while you're in that. You can't take a final vote. The next one was interesting. Interview or discuss candidates for appointment to vacant elected positions. I think there's a story behind that one. I've always wanted to know what it is. I don't know what it is. It might be boring to most people, but I thought it was interesting. This one includes all of the closed sessions are recorded. They're not made public, but they're recorded in case there's any kind of claim or litigation involving that, with the exception of the meetings closed for individuals' character, competence, or health. Okay, so that's the one that's not recorded. It's the only the only meeting ever not recorded. Okay. The reason for that is you can get into very, very sensitive physical health, mental health, reputation type things that just probably shouldn't be recorded. There is a provision in OMA for emergency meetings. Again, I hope this never happens to you. County commissioners have to deal with it. You know, something comes up and you have to address it immediately. There's a provision for that. They're not going to say, the commission has to wait till tomorrow to declare an emergency, state of emergency. No, they're not going to do that. So it is provided for. There is a policy for it, and I just feel good that we'll never have to do that. Electronic meetings. This one is important. We do have the ability to have electronic meetings. During COVID, this was very important. It could happen again. Something happened down here at the county, something with this building. We might have to meet electronically. We have a policy for that, and we would set it up. Requires notice. Requires you to all to be online. Requires all of our votes to be taken by roll call so that we make sure that that's all documented. And violations. So, I would not be doing my job if I didn't tell you it is a Class B misdemeanor to violate OPMA. And having been a prosecutor before, that's not something you want to mess with. It's for real. It happens. Just take these few principles and just keep them in your head. Every meeting's open. We can't predetermine actions, and you'll be okay.
Can you guys give us because we had that recent one in the fall with Pacific Corps and we all got. I mean, at least I did. I had people coming. I mean, I have no idea how they even found our not even our residence, our work site, which is really rare. Like
I didn't.
Yeah, they actually
Someone
went
came
to
to your
our
work?
work. Yeah.
Oh, I was not aware of that.
Yeah. And I mean, it was weird. It was like, because, I mean, like, we're not like, we're off Highway 89. And,
Yeah.
like, it's really hard to find where we work. And so I knew at some point, because you and I've talked a lot about that, like, I was basically saying, like, whatever you want to give me, you need to give to Marie. But I can't really, like, I can't say anything, and he's super concerned. But that was a community out of Salem.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be nice to get a heads, like maybe you guys can give us a heads up if you think there's going to be a controversial topic ahead of time, just saying, there's a possibility, or even if for me, I didn't know that other people are getting those issues either. I don't know. It just be nice to give us a head up so that maybe there's a controversial topic that people might be coming to you.
Yeah. Okay. And that's not necessarily an OPMA violation. That's the ex parte problem that we discussed.
Yeah.
I'll just reiterate, though, that we are your staff. We are available. I consider the attorney's office, well, I should only speak for myself, available 24/7. I used to work with police officers, and they didn't have hours. So I was available. I say the same thing to you. I now have a phone that I can carry for the county. And it's on all the time. So you are allowed to call that anytime. Okay. Same thing with staff. These folks are in this office, most of them every day. Someone coming to your work, I wouldn't have a problem with you calling my cell phone and saying someone is at my work talking about this issue. Okay. Wouldn't have any problem with that at all. We would address it, we'd handle it however we
So
need
I could
to.
call you and say, talk to Dale.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, if that needs to happen. Yes. And it would basically be, you need to leave this person alone. She is a volunteer commission
I didn't
member.
feel harassed or anything, but it certainly was putting me in an awkward position.
And then explain to them the proper way to come down to here
Yeah,
to
and
this
that's what I did.
community
I said, you
development
need to
office.
email Marie everything you want to give me. I can't look at it. You need to mail her.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
I was a little bit frustrated when I heard that I wasn't the only one, and it's so they had already heard it at least from somebody that was not appropriate, and yet they kept doing it.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Because I'm guessing almost all of us had some kind of a disruption from one of the people.
That's on the website now, right?
Yes. Yeah. We certainly take your privacy seriously. We live in a world where things can be found, but we do get requests for your information, and we do not provide that at all. We have created a planning commission email specifically that we direct people to, including on our notices, and that's really kind of the way for them to communicate with the planning commission, is through that.
Common OPMA violations of those, probably you're not going to do any of those without us being around, staff, and we help you. We will always tell you, hey, be careful. The only one that was not there that might be a problem is the predetermined action. Because by definition, that's probably happening outside of our presence. And as long as it's not 4 or more of you getting together and, colluding on what the vote's going to be on the conditional use approval on the agenda next month, it's not going to happen. Okay. But that would be the one that you'd need to be think about. And you guys will probably sit on other boards, I'm guessing. If you're doing this volunteer work, you're probably going to sit on other boards. Same rules.
Well, and this is good to know because there are other boards that we serve or that serve us, so it's good for us to know for the county commission or for the school board or whatever. It's good to,
and sometimes it'll be the person in the audience that says, hey, you can't do this. That'll make them stop and think. These are the common violations. Not that you guys would get in trouble with this, but if we don't provide the right notice, which includes discussing public matter outside of a public meeting, so that could happen. Closing a meeting without a vote. I could see a board doing that doesn't meet very often. Closing for a meeting for a reason not allowed by OPMA, that could happen. Taking official action, something that's not on the agenda. They actually try to take action. It's not on the agenda, or they just met closed session, come out. So it helps for all of us to know these principles and just help, our other boards maybe comply with them. That's pretty much it. There's case law. There's all kinds of case law if you wanted it.
love me some law.
The one I love is the one from Richfield, where I'm from. They really made a mess of a case, but they gave us good OPMA law. They gave us good OPMA law that if you do something wrong, like it wasn't on the agenda or it was in a closed meeting, you can cure that defect by noticing it up properly, coming into a public meeting, listening to the public, and then taking action. So I guess that was a good thing. Anyway, that is all of OPMA. You have time to ask questions. You can do it now. You can do it later. We've also talked about just your general law governing planning commission, administrative decisions, legislative decisions, ex parte contacts. You have any questions about that? Do you want to spend time doing it? Do you want to wait until those questions come up? It's kind of up to you.
What did you say the last one?
Ex parte contacts.
What was that?
So I really should give it a CIC. Members should disclose any ex parte contacts or communications regarding any matter on the agenda at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay. So if somebody contacts us outside of this meeting, we need to make that public in this meeting.
Yeah.
We need to tell them, hey, so and so came and contacted me, and I told them I can't talk about this, but.
Oh, really? You have to say that. So I wasn't at the meeting.
You should disclose that.
I wasn't at the big meeting. That was the thing.
Well,
and so I wouldn't have been here to have said, and the person who I'm sure who contacted me, I forget his name now. I'm sure he was at the meeting.
Yes.
So I would have had to say, hey, yo, you.
If you just disclose someone had contact with you.
Okay, so you don't have to say the name.
Yeah,
okay.
You don't have to say the name. No.
Okay. Oh, okay.
What you're doing is you're putting your fellow commissioners on notice if they think something happened to make you biased. They might think you need to recuse yourself, or there might be a discussion about
if
whether
the mafia came and you got to vote on this a certain way,
They might want to hear more.
Okay, so in that situation, though, really, it's like you got a bunch of people here, and I'm like, I was contacted by somebody about this, and they're really passionate about it. Really, you guys, within a couple minutes, you can come to a conclusion like, yeah, Lorraine, you should recuse yourself. Like, you think you can come?
Chance we get.
I think the biggest thing is just making it public. Like, hey, this happened, and we want it all in the sunshine so that nobody can accuse me of later on. Okay. You were in cahoots with so and so. Well, no, it was disclosed in a public meeting that that this person had contacted.
So if I had been at that meeting, the very long one, which I wasn't, you guys, if I had been at that meeting, I would have had to say something, but also too, could I have recused myself?
You could have, yes. Yeah. Or it might be the other way. one of the commissioners may say, that's interesting. I want to know more about that. And, solicit, staff, we want more on that. Or did you receive anything from this person legally? Did it come in through the office so that we can see it? You never know what's going to happen. But like Seth said, you want this out. You want this in the open. That's what this is all about. And so we ask you to disclose those. Sullivan's good about when Timpanogos comes up, say, hey, I'm out on this one. You could get an application by a family friend or family member or neighbor, and you say, hey, I'm too close to this. You want to disclose things to it. We don't want to go through all the work you do here and then have someone challenge it in court by something that was so easily disclosed, and we could have handled it right here.
So that applicant talks to me on a regular basis because I'm on the board.
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah.
So that's a unique situation.
So-
You definitely want to be out of those.
In hindsight, when we had the cover bridge access rail, I probably should recuse myself. I don't think I did. Like the people wanted access to you guys wanted to change the language so that any railroad crossing people could get access. So up cover bridge, we have somebody who bought a bunch of
That
property.
was a text amendment, though, right?
So
That was
was
a
that-
text amendment, a legislative act.
okay.
So yes, you could disclose that, but
So would I
it's
recuse myself? Should I recuse myself? Because I live.
I don't know that
think
I
she
would
would
in
need
that.
to.
What's
I
that?
don't think she would need to.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I
In a
don't
no
know
financial interest or gain she's going to get by it. She
Right.
may be better qualified to address the issues than the rest of us because you live there and you can
Yeah,
help
I
us
probably
understand.
was. I probably was.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure just because we know about something, I don't think we want to.
I didn't know about it until they came.
Right. But you know what I'm saying?
But
But
yeah.
that's why if we make it known at the beginning of the meeting, hey, by the way, I have this knowledge, then if the commission feels like it would be better to not be part of that decision, then the commission could kind of
And that would be
deliberate.
would that have been a conversation that I would have before the meeting starts?
If you have them with me, that would be wonderful.
Before.
I would-
That,
Wow.
that's
Okay.
happened here, and
Before,
that's
like, I
great.
could
Yes.
even, like,
Hey, this
email
happened.
you.
Should I be sitting on this? We email
Okay.
it, text, phone call just before the meeting. Yeah.
Wait till midnight, though. You heard him say he's available.
I am available.
Open your night out.
I just think it's important that we're all making decisions based on the same information.
Yeah.
In other words, if you're talking to someone and you have information none of us have, then you're voting a certain way, and we can't even vote. We don't even understand why you're voting that way because we don't have your information. We want to all have all the information we each other have, and the way you do that is by saying, present the information here at this meeting. Because if you talk to me privately for an hour at Chuckarama and show me all these maps and stuff, now I'm making a decision based on something that the rest of us have not heard.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So we just want to hear it here.
Yes.
Right.
And more importantly, we've moved to get it to us in advance.
Yeah.
Let the commissioners have some
everybody
time
see
to
the map.
digest this
Yeah.
and
Sure, yeah.
understand it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
Any other questions on that? Ex
No,
parte,
that-
legislative, administrative decisions.
That's
Those are the
interesting.
big ones.
Okay.
We go over conditional use approval law almost every time we do one, which is fine.
It's good for the public to hear that too, if there is any.
Good point. You guys don't necessarily do it enough. In fact, the county commissioners don't do it enough. If you can see what may be bothering people, it's okay to ask us a question. You know the answer, but if you want us to present it, to tee it up, to kind of provide that background, there's nothing wrong with doing that. In fact, the commissioners that do it well, it works amazing.
So what's an example of that? What do you mean?
For instance, county commissioners, I'll use them as an example because they do it the most. They like someone in staff to set up what their decision is, what they can and can't consider, because it helps them say no in cases where they have to say no. An example.
Isn't Snowbird an example last year? When
Conditional
we were
use
talking about
permit.
Snowbird, because they were only asking for an extension. They weren't
Good one.
asking to rehash
Good
the whole
one.
debate. And even though we had a lot of people here,
Very good.
I kind of said that like
Yep.
there's only so much we can do.
Yeah.
We're this the only decision that we had to make was whether to extend it or not.
Yes. And it seems like one of the staff actually said that, but there would be nothing wrong with you saying, now, could you please explain to us again what is in front of us tonight, which is only an extension. It's not a rehearing on the conditional use approval. Yeah, that's a very good example. And even though you know that, you know the public doesn't. 'Cause
Mhm.
they're just never always going to understand that. And there's nothing wrong with having that discussion, making it look like we're working something out, even though we know what's going on, to get that out to them so they understand.
Yeah, that was the one that readily came to my mind just because that's
Good
what I felt like I
Perfect.
had to do was ask that question kind of in a couple of different ways so the public could see that I have no love for that particular use there, but that's our only
Only the extension is in front of you.
yeah.
Yep. Yes, sir.
For example, sometimes a citizen may come and start making an argument that is not something we can consider.
Yes.
For example, that's a terrible business idea. They're going to fail, and you should deny it because they're going to fail. What I would want to do is say, can we consider that when we talk about this issue, or is that something that's their call? All we can consider is this. Then let you explain it to everybody.
Absolutely.
Then we'll go, okay, and then that way the citizen knows, oh, okay, so they really can't consider whether it's a good business idea because it's not a land use issue or something.
Roads in agricultural protection areas. It seems like it comes up every single time and no one ever gets it right. We had a gentleman stand up there's 3 meetings on an APA, and I can't remember which one it occurred in, but he stood up and he says, you can't close the road. An APA doesn't close roads, doesn't open roads. It either excludes them or includes them. But he had come to the meeting believing that the APA would close the road in front of his house so he couldn't use it. And so it was important for the commission to say, well, this has got nothing to do with closing a road, isn't that? And look at staff and say, isn't that correct? Can you explain this road situation? Someone stood up and said, this is just about inclusion or exclusion from the APA protection, not the road itself. Yeah, those kind of things.
Just like the
Please do that.
solar farms all over there. I have personal opinions about whether that's a good thing or not, but what we can do about it is what we can do about it.
And when you're in that tough situation, ask for staff to step up. We'll lay it up, tee it up for you, and here's what's going on. Here's what you can and can't do. No problem doing that. Anything else that has come up recently? You probably had enough.
I'll just say, I think we're really fortunate to have such a good staff. Some of these small towns have a fourth a person once a month, and they're making the same decisions. And we're so fortunate to have an attorney, multiple land use people, good people taking good records. It's just nice it makes our job much safer and better when we have such a great. We're lucky to be fortunate to be in a large community where we have those protections. That's all.
Yes, this is well run.
Yeah.
So, Chair, if you're okay, that's all I've got tonight.
Okay.
Unless you have more.
Thank you, staff. I don't think we need to make any public comment.
Well, put on the record, there is no one here.
There's no one here to make a public comment, so we're going to move past that. And do we need a motion to adjourn?
You do not.
Or are we?
You can simply.
We are adjourned.